Today, we're in Parshat Beha'alotcha. We're in the desert. That's what the parsha is all about. We're walking through the desert. All kinds of things are going on. They have a certain routine. They're establishing themselves in a certain routine. The Jewish people are going through the desert, and they've pretty much built up the tabernacle. So they have this center, this Jewish center, and they're trying to develop their identity as a nation. They just received the Torah, and Bamidbar, this whole book of Bamidbar is how they're walking through the desert and becoming a nation. And this is how they're establishing themselves. And there's a beautiful pasuk, and I think it relates to us as a people and as us as individuals going through this time period in Jewish history. And eventually, I hope it also will connect with something that we learned today with our group of learning ladies, about prayer. I don't know if it will, because I literally didn't think about it, but I usually it does connect in the end. Okay, so here's a beautiful pasuk. Listen up. Uvayom hakim et hamishkan, on the day that they established the Mishkan, that they built the tabernacle, kisa ha'anan et hamishkan le'ohel ha'edut. On the day that they built the Mishkan, there was a cloud on top of the Mishkan, on top of this tabernacle. Uba'erev yihyeh al hamishkan kemar'eh esh. It looked like there was a fire. It was like the image of a fire was on top of the tabernacle at night, in the evening. Ad boker, till the morning. Kein yihyeh tamid. This is always how it was. Such a strange little couple words there. Al pi Hashem yachanu ve'al pi Hashem isau. According to Hashem, they should travel, and according to Hashem, they should encamp. Actually, it first says encamp. First, according to Hashem, you should encamp, and according to Hashem, you shall travel. And the way it worked is that every time there was a cloud on top of the tabernacle, they would just stay put. And then as the cloud moved away from the tabernacle, like all the Jewish people that were camping around the Mishkan, the tabernacle, realized, oh, I see the cloud moving, so let's start going. So the Nesiva Shalom says, what's going on here? Because really, what the Torah doesn't just tell you all these details about what happened in the desert. It's really not a detail book, or it's not a history book. It's more lesson book for us, for each and every one of us. So he says, what's the lesson here for eternity? He says, it's always like this. That's the pasuk. The pasuk says, this is always the way it is. Meaning, in a Jewish person's life, he goes through certain times where he, first of all, is establishing himself, his identity, who he is, his modus operandi, his philosophy of life. He's establishing himself, and that is how we are always supposed to work. We're creating our own little tabernacle. We are a tabernacle, and that is how we are supposed to go through life. We are figuring ourselves out. We're building our home. We're building our philosophy. We're building our lifestyle, and then what happens is the cloud comes on to the tabernacle. There's a cloud, and sometimes at night it's dark, and there's an image of a fire. Things go crazy in your life, and it's dark. And it's crazy because you're just kind of getting yourself into a routine, and you're feeling, this is who I am, and this is my identity. And then all of a sudden there's this cloud, which is trying to point out that there's a shadow, that there's darkness, that there's times that are challenging in your life, and there's even a fire. These days especially, my mom is calling me up sometimes. She's like, can you explain to me what's going on? There's something crazy. What's going on? What's the news? Can you explain to me? There's all these rabbis that you thought were amazing, or at least you didn't think they were amazing, but you thought you could trust them. And there's all these religious members of Knesset who you thought were your leaders, basically. And they're saying crazy things. They're saying, let's topple the government in war. So let's actually sacrifice our security for idiocy. Okay, really, seriously, that's what it seems like is happening. So it seems like there's a fire. There's an image of a fire. Things are nuts. Things are crazy and very dark. And the Netivat Shalom says, Ken yihyeh tamid. This is how it always is. This is how it always will be. And this is how it always was. Jewish people going through their life are always going to face a certain degree of challenges. And a nisayon, which is a challenge or a test, is from the root of nes, which also means a miracle, but it comes from the root in the verb in Hebrew is lihitnoses, or nes lihitnoses is a flag, which is waving, which is advertising. Like lihitnoses means like bright lights everywhere, kind of advertising itself. So when you have a flag that is a flag is actually a nes in Hebrew. So when you have this flag, what you're waving is you are advertising yourself. Like you are now, everything that you had inside is now out. It's now a flag that you're waving to the entire world. So you as a nation, when we go through challenges and we go through terrible tests as a nation, in the end of the day, we are a walking advertisement for who we really are, for what we really believe. And we as individuals, also, it's the same thing. When we have a nisayon, when we have a challenge, a test, it's to bring out our greatness that we had inside of us. We have all these strengths. We have all this potential. And then we have to actualize it. We have to be a walking advertisement for who we are and for what we believe. So that is why we have these challenges, and that's why we have the cloud on top of the Mishkan. This is what happens. You have to become a walking advertisement for yourself and figure yourself out. What are you really made of? And yet, when there is a cloud on top of the tabernacle, are we supposed to keep moving? No. The cloud, when you are in that situation, when you're in a cloud, when there's confusion, when there's darkness, when there's a fire, that means it's dark. That means it's nighttime. That means you just don't move. You just survive, and you just make sure that you do not stumble and fall. He brings a pasuk from Kohelet, which says, Haksil b'choshech yehalech. From Ecclesiastes says, a fool walks in the darkness, because if you walk in the darkness, you're going to fall. So it's like a message from Hashem that says, listen, I am here with you. I know what I'm doing. Yes, it's dark. Yes, there's a cloud on your tabernacle. You're trying to establish yourself as a person, and you're doing great. But now is a time for you to actualize your potential, to bring out into the light of day, to be a walking advertisement of your beliefs. Hold on, survive. Just don't fall. Just hold yourself so that you do not fall. But don't try and walk forward. Don't try and move on. Don't try and travel in the darkness. You're just going to fall. So you just wait. Shahatafkid az yachanu b'nei Israel v'lo yisau. At that time, we encamp and we do not travel. Only v'shiyikabel et hanaga ha'elyona shakadosh baruch hu rotzeh mimeno ata sheyavdenu mitoch hester panim. Hashem wants you now to serve him through the darkness, through the hiddenness, through the confusion. And we are confused. We are going through such a long period of time where it's so confusing, and there's a cloud on our nation for 615 days. And it's nuts, and we can't take it anymore. But you know what? I think in the desert, there were times when the cloud was on that tabernacle for more than 615 days. Sometimes it was 2 years of encampment. We're supposed to encamp. We are supposed to just kind of like gather ourselves together, figure ourselves out, not lose our emunah, not fall, not commit suicide, not go on drugs, hold on for dear life, but do not fall, do not escape. But also don't feel that you need to accomplish anything right now. We can't accomplish anything right now. We just have to make sure we don't fall and that we survive and we get through this. And eventually the cloud will move on. And then, it's so beautiful. When it's not the time to keep moving forward and to elevate yourself and to get onto a higher and higher level in your spirituality. No. Just stay there, okay? This is the time to just stay put and to realize Shakadosh Baruch Hu rotzeh sheyavduhu mitoch choshech. Hashem wants you now to work on your level and to realize that we are serving Hashem now through hiddenness, through darkness. This is a dark period. Yes, it is. And we just have to hold on. V'chein matzinu. Oh, and also, he says so beautifully, He says so beautiful. So you don't expect of yourself that you need to move on now. Don't expect of yourself, oh, I need to reach these high levels, not only personally, but as a nation. Like, oh my gosh, we have to bring the Geula, or we have to, like reach a certain level as a nation and bring Mashiach. I mean, yes, we could, that would be great, but don't worry. We are in such a hard time right now that all we need to do is make sure that we as a human being personally and also as a nation don't fall into the depths of despair. And we just have to realize that Hashem is still with us. And also when we receive the Torah, it says that Moshe walked into the shadow. Be'av ha'anan, he reached into Arafel, Nigash el ha'arafel, he went into the fog, and then he went into the thickness of the dark, the thickness of the cloud. And then Ba'avur yishma ha'am b'dabri imach. It says Hashem says to Moshe, you go into that cloud, and then the nation, will hear that I'm speaking to you in the cloud, in the darkness. So yes, it's dark, and yes, you're not supposed to move forward, and yes, you're not supposed to feel like you have to reach some kind of like goal, No, but also don't forget that I am with you. She'ani medaber elecha mitoch ha'anan, he says. I am karov elecha. I'm close to you. I'm speaking to you within that darkness. I'm with you the whole time. Don't forget that I'm with you the whole time, that I'm orchestrating events, that I have something in mind, that I have a bigger picture. Don't lose faith. Don't lose hope. Don't lose your joy for life. And just realize that this is a time period and you have to just hold on and get through it. So that was beautiful. And I really, I'm just taking that idea for life here. And I'm hoping that you also will understand this. I'm trying to connect it to what we learned today. What we learned today in the gates of prayer is this idea of nipul. One of the gates of prayer is to fall. Nipul is from the root of nafal, to fall on your face, kind of, when you are praying to God. And he gives a difference between, like, let's say a panhandler, like a guy who's just like walking and collecting tzedakah. Like, did you ever have those shluchim that come to your house, like a person who just like comes to knock on your door and asks for some tzedakah? And there's a halacha in the Rambam. The Rambam says that you need to give him something. You need to give this poor person something. You can't turn him away empty-handed. But at the same time, you don't have to give him a lot of money, because he's going from door to door, so he'll get something from other people as well. So you don't have to worry that you need to support this person. So too, Hashem says, like, Hashem has this, like, it's basically a metaphor to how Hashem is relating to us. Like, if we are going through life and we feel like we have a problem, so we're going to go to the doctor, or if we need to, like, money, so we're going to go to this person and that rich person, and we're going to try this job and that job, and we're going to try this avenue and that avenue, and we're going to have a fundraising campaign, and we're going to do all these things. And yes, we'll also pray to God as like one of the places that we're going to get money, to put out our hand, right? Or to get a healing, or to get a cure for our illness, or whatever it is that's troubling us. If Hashem is just one of those doors that we're going and knocking on, then he will not necessarily feel responsible for our cause. He won't adopt our cause as his own and say, oh my gosh, this person is so only relying on me, so I need to really provide him with what he needs. He'll be like, I'll give you a shekel, I'll give you $1, I'll give you $5, because you came to my house. I'm not going to turn you away empty-handed, but I'm not necessarily going to take on your cause as my own. Whereas if we fall on our face and pray to God out of this feeling that we have no one to rely on except for you, Hashem, and we are literally like, we can't live without this thing that we're asking for, then it's a very different ballgame. Then Hashem doesn't feel, obviously Hashem doesn't feel any of these things, but he's giving us a metaphor to how we treat a poor person walking around. But if somebody came to you and said, like, I can't live without you, you are taking care of me, you are my only resource, you would feel much more responsible for that person. So if we literally fall on our faces and say to Hashem, I remember, it's funny, my mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, she passed away 10 years ago. But I remember she used to come to Israel on these little whatever, visits to visit her sons and grandchildren. And she would ask me before coming on a trip, she was like, is there anything you can't live without? And I would be like so taken aback. I feel like a little bit offended. I would be like, no, I have everything I need. Thanks. So there's nothing I can't live without. Like, I don't want to feel like I'm such a nebuch case, So she would be like, okay. So she brings me like, chocolate turtles or a cute little thing, which was delicious, by the way. But it wasn't really what I wanted or needed, because I just kind of felt like, I don't need everything. I don't need something so badly. But I think Hashem does want us to feel that vulnerability and to say, you know what? I really do rely on you completely, Hashem, and I really can't live without this. So if there's something that you feel that you really can't live without, and you should feel that about a lot of things, and especially today in Israel, we can't live without the hostages coming back home. We can't. We really, really can't. So we all have to pray to Hashem that we cannot live without this. And we cannot live without the Jewish people feeling that they love each other. We can't live with hatred among us. If we can say to Hashem, I can't live without this. Hashem, you have to save us from ourselves. And you have to bring the hostages back in such a way that really feels like we're falling on our face. We're saying we're vulnerable. We're saying we can't live without it. We're saying that we need you, Hashem. Then hopefully Hashem will really take on our cause and show us that he is responding in kind and giving us what we need. I really hope that happens. And Mirza Hashem, have a great Shabbos, everybody.